right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have had a lot of big additions on the offensive side of the ball. We've talked about the offense ad nauseum, but I think it's time to give a little love to the defense because there's some guys on defense who are moving up their second years and they look like potentially they could be big time breakout stars for the Steelers. But we're not the only ones saying that. So let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, from over on PFF, and it says, with the 2024 NFL season slowly creeping up, we're looking at the PFF data collected over the past few seasons to identify potential breakout candidates at each position on offense and defense. Here's our summer 2024 all breakout team. Interior defender, Keanu Benton, Pittsburgh Steelers. If you've watched this channel, you know we've been high on Benton for quite some time. I'm glad someone else has recognized it as well. It says Benton was inconsistent in run defense last year, but still recorded 6 PFF run defense game grades above 70.0. He should be able to improve on that in his second NFL season. He was useful as a pass rusher too, notching an 8.5% pressure rate as well, which is pretty good if you look at comparable players and their pressure rates as well. I think Benton is set up to have a big time second year, Nick. I'm curious what your thoughts on Benton are, but before we get to you Steelers fans, in the comment section below, talking about the center of the field, the key of the defensive line, who is your favorite Steelers nose guard of all time? There's probably some really great ones out there, but let us know who is your favorite Steelers nose guard of all time in the comment section below. And while you're down there, check out the description below the video to see our list of really great books for the NFL. There's some great autobiographies, some great books breaking down football. In particular, there is one called Gridiron Genius that I think is a really great book if you love all things football. So go ahead and check it out in the description below the video. But Nick, what are your thoughts on Benton?
You know, we talked about him during the season. We actually did a few film reviews. In fact, we may end up doing another film review highlighting exactly what plays he does well and why he'll break out in 2024. But I always believe this when it comes to defensive linemen, especially young guys up front. You can learn to be a better run defender, right? It's about timing. It's about fit. Maybe it's about putting on another 10, 15 pounds, right? Because the NFL run game is so different than college. It's just really hard to figure out gap assignments, understand blocking schemes, the speed of the game. It's really hard for any rookie to come in and be a quality run defender. So I look at a young defensive lineman, I look at their pass rushing ability, because if they can be a good pass rusher right out of the get-go, that's a great sign, because that's much more of a harder skill to learn. Pass rushing is one of those things you kind of either got it or you don't. And I tell you what, this kid has it. If you look at the PFF grades for pass rush in 2023, not for rookies, not siloing it out for young players on offense or on defense, just across the board, who had the best pass rushing grade in the NFL in 2023, Keanu Benton found himself in the top 10 among all interior defensive linemen, right? He's ahead of guys like DJ Reader, great player. He's right behind a guy named Quinnen Williams, who a lot of people consider one of the best defensive tackles in the National Football League. And he's actually ahead of fellow second-year man, was a rookie last year, Kobe Turner for the Los Angeles Rams, who got a lot of praise. So we're looking at Benton here. He is a guy that is performing at a level as good as any young player. In fact, better than all the young players when you look at Kobe Turner. And he's just as good when it comes to pass rush as a lot of all-pro guys like Reader, like Quinnen Williams. To me, that's a great sign that this kid's going to quickly become a bigger and stronger player, become a more impactful player, be a destructive force. Because look, when you look at the Steelers' structure of their defense, I think you look at their pass rushers, Watt, Highsmith. I think their secondary got younger and got better. They just need that interior disruptive force in the middle. They've had it a number of times in the past. I think Benton's the guy to give him that final edge, give them that final edge, and just add another dynamic, explosive factor in terms of disrupting opposing offenses. Benton did a great job of that last year, and he should do even better in 2024. But while we're talking about 2024, I know you brought up the fact that we've been talking a lot about the Steelers offense this offseason. There's been a lot of talk about the new additions, right? Mainly at quarterback, new offensive coordinator. But the reality is, so far, when you go through mini camps and OTAs, there's one guy who's been the big winner, who's been surprising everybody as the breakout star of the offense, and that's a guy named tight end Pat Freiermuth. Let's go ahead and pull up this report and talk about Freiermuth here for a second, switching gears to the offense. This is according to SI.com. Pratt Freiermuth is really impressing in the new offense. Heading into the season, Freiermuth is already off on a strong foot. During organized team activities in minicamp, he was a standout player. ESPN football writer Brooke Pryor was so impressed with Freiermuth that she awarded him with an interesting accolade. Arthur Smith's offense is a tight end's dream, and it's already waking up Freiermuth from a nightmare of a 2023 season. Hampering by a nagging hamstring injury and playing in a disjointed offense, Freiermuth had a career low 32 catches for 308 yards, less than half of his output from 2022. But the 2021 second-round pick is poised for a resurgence with a new quarterback and offensive coordinator, and he showed early signs of good chemistry with quarterback Russell Wilson through offseason workouts. The Steelers don't have a solid wide receiver 2 option. I disagree with that a little bit, but anyway, but that might not matter as much if Freiermuth continues on the kind of upward trajectory he established this offseason. I think this is a great sign that Freiermuth is off to a strong start. Obviously, new offense. They're going to need him, even if they have a solid number 2 receiver. They're going to need this tight end to make a lot of plays. Miles, let me kick it over to you now. What are your thoughts on either of these young breakout stars here for the Steelers?
Yeah, Nick, as we said, Benton, he's going to be great. But I think Freiermuth is a guy that we've kind of slept on for a little bit. I know he's had a couple of good seasons, but the last two really kind of been, up and down. Last season, just not great quarterback play, doesn't make a receiving tight end very, very favorable looking as far as things go. But we know the best iteration of the Steelers. We know that it was when they had great tight ends, especially in recent memory, the last 20 years or so. You think of Heath Miller, great tight end for the Steelers, so reliable. You think even after Heath Miller, they had a couple guys do a couple of great stretches. You look at Jesse James, a guy who came in and did good for them, and Vance McDonald after that for a little bit. But in the last 4 or 5 years, they have struggled to find that guy to really step up and become the guy, to become, like I said, the Heath Miller, to become like a Dallas Cowboys Jason Witten, to become the guy that's like the go-to guy for them at the tight end position. And I think Freiermuth can do it because I think Arthur Smith is great at getting tight ends to be really, really successful. You look at what he did down in Tennessee, the few years he was down there. Delaney Walker, that was a guy that was looking good under him. Then he comes over to the Cardinals. I think his first year with the Cardinals, Kyle Pitts when he got him. And really, I think this is the offense we're going with now is the ability that he was to get Kyle Pitts in that first season. The next 2 seasons when they kind of shied away from a couple things, not as good, and the quarterback play dipped pretty tremendously as well. But he did a lot of good things. Kyle Pitts' rookie year, everyone remembers that was a guy who really just looked very, very strong. He looked like a really big time playmaker. So I think coming in here, helping revitalize and, re-energize Pat Freiermuth's career, we know he has the talent, but we just need him to be highlighted in the correct way. And I think that's what we're trending towards. And I think we're already seeing, they said Russell Wilson utilizing him already. It is going to be a match made in heaven. I think it's going to make this offense really, really strong.
Yeah, just to end on the Freiermuth discussion with a few statistics, my favorite stat in terms of evaluating offensive coordinators utilizing tight ends is yards per route run, because tight ends, they're not like receivers running 60-yard verticals, right? They're much more efficient working in the middle of the field. So the more receiving yards per route run is an indication of how efficient a tight end is being used in terms of getting open, calling good route schemes for that specific tight end skill sets, and actually focusing on them in the offense. And here's what's interesting, got some stats here, is that under Arthur Smith, the last 3 years with the Atlanta Falcons, Kyle Pitts in yards per route run finished 4th, 7th, and then last year he was banged up a little bit, so Jonnu Smith played more and he finished 11th. So 3 times in the top 11, right? What is that? That's consistency. That's understanding to consistently use your tight end. Pat Freiermuth has been all over the place. Last year was 26th. The year before that, he was 8th. And in 2021, he was 21st. We're talking about volatility and utilizing the tight end. And when you have volatility and inconsistency from your offensive play caller to use a tight end, you're not going to get great performance. Just like quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, they need stability. Arthur Smith brought that stability in terms of utilizing the tight end to the Atlanta Falcons, and he'll do the same thing with Pat Freiermuth with the Pittsburgh Steelers.